Here's the story so far. I was born, and now 33 years later, I'm still alive. It's a miracle. I know. Some truths. It's raining. This is Montenegro. It's a park. It's the city. Riveting stuff. I think this is just something different to do. I think day in and day out, what I think is possible, what I think is my life, doesn't necessarily need to be the way that it is. Because every opportunity that I have, every moment that I have, I get to choose how I want to do it. And it's true that, you get into these grooves and the paths that you create. It's just easier to do the same things over and over. However, I do, funny enough, when I'm out hiking or in nature, I love going off day, not going to the path. Certain dogs. Cool. Dog. So I think in life, something that I'm doing a lot of as well. I want to. I think for a long time, my thing was, is it worth doing? Because everything takes a lot of energy to do. Thinking, it's just really fun. There's a lot of thoughts lately that have been coming back to me that are very old, Even today as I was walking, I remember this company picnic at some park or lake. I was really young at the time. I don't remember anything else really from this year. I have no idea how old I was. But I just remember I saw this big inflatable ball coming at me. That this girl was coming out of the water. She kicked it or threw it too far, and I was picking it up to give it back to her. And she yelled at me, "Don't touch it! Don't touch it!" And I was like, "You don't want my help? I don't understand." I felt really bad. So I was like, I'd done something that I wasn't supposed to do, but I was doing something to be helpful, That's an interesting part of life. I don't know why I had that thought today. With your best intentions, you set out, but you don't know how the world's going to react to anything you do. That doesn't have anything to do with you, which I think is the lesson. That as a kid, I had no idea. I just thought, well, I don't know if I'm making, you have to tiptoe. I think was the thing that I tread lightly, because you don't know what's going to set someone off. And of course, we all know that that's kind of bullshit. That's like stuff that we learned as a kid, you know, to people please and whatnot. But it's funny because I do remember throughout my life kind of saying a similar thing or thinking similar things. You know, I was in this one relationship, and I remember I would say things. I never meant to, like, didn't understand why this person would just get angry at me sometimes, you know. And I thought, like, oh, I feel really like anxious around this person now, and I sort of ended up breaking it off because of that, you know. And honestly, it's just a reflection of myself. I don't know why I'm prone to, you know, feeling this way, as far as not being sure of my actions, you know, like sort of doubting and questioning yourself because of this fear of someone else's reaction to whatever, you know, your thing is. So a lot of times you keep quiet or say what you think is the right thing. It's kind of bullshit, you know? Because who the fuck cares? But, you know, don't live your life with this other person, you know? You shouldn't go out of your way to be intentionally, you know, a dick or cause harm to others. But that's the other thing, is that this girl who said, don't touch that ball, you know? It's her property. Who knows what was going on in her head? This sort of possessive nature she had, that no one could even touch her thing. And, some kids are like that for whatever reason. It's a control thing, probably. These kids don't, you know, can't control anything, so they lash out and do certain things that she had no idea, and I had no care in the world of what her action meant to me. My reaction was to really question my actions. You know? Really question, sort of, oh, even when I'm doing the right thing, what I think is the right thing, there's all these people telling me, no. And I don't know why that is. These people are just sort of projections of your inner self. You think that's right? I don't know. Because everything in life is really just from your perspective. You know, you try to listen, understand all these other people, you know, even more so than yourself sometimes. But it's so much counterintuitive. Sometimes you gotta flip the script. Just really listen to yourself only. Which sounds really selfish in a way. It sounds really counterintuitive. Even when I say it then, it's like, oh, don't listen to anyone else. Even though we kind of hear that a lot. Follow your own sort of bliss or whatnot. So my bliss took me to Montenegro. And I'm just here for 2 more days, I think. And then I'm off to Albania, where actually was a country that was on my list of where I wanted to go before I ever left America, the US, the States, whatever you want to say it. Just because they have a really friendly visa situation. You know, I can be there for up to a year just on a tourist visa. And it's a relatively affordable place to live. So I'm excited. I'll be going there on Sunday. It's Friday now. So I've been exploring the Balkans for a few months. It's very different than Spain. Now, Spain was such a eye-opening experience as far as a culture that I still want to experience more of. And the language is really something that I want to understand and improve. And it's difficult because I always want to take a shortcut or think that, it would be good enough, be able to hold conversations in a certain amount of time. And it's still pretty is elusive to me. But to be honest, I didn't know, when I first arrived, I didn't even know that cerveza was how you called a beer. I was just like, cerveza. Because I think I remember seeing the word, on certain Mexican beers back in the U.S. But honestly, I thought it was like a hard C. was that bad? I was like, oh, it's a Gervasen, or so I've come a long way, but just knowing, that you get to a certain point that there's so much more to always learn. Languages are such a bizarre thing because the more that I travel, the more languages there are in the world that I experience. Of course, where do all these languages come from? Because I remember this podcast, The History of English Language. It just followed the path of English language, but I loved it because they went all the way back to like the Indo-European sort of language, sort of found all the connections with the different languages, because a lot of languages are connected in that way. It's really cool. But understanding other people is such a bizarre thing because we're all pretty much the same, and the only real separation is that language. And, it's just it's really weird the more I think about it, and the more people that I've met, because unifying language for like everyone is English, pretty much. So I find myself in a unique position, knowing English, pretty much just knowing English. But there's all these different. I couldn't speak the way I'm speaking. When I first was in Spain, and they're saying, can't understand your English. You gotta learn street English. Gotta be, real slow down with the words. And try and use more basic words. And when you're not around native English speakers, your language skills just change a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, it's funny. I decided to do this thing and travel around. It's weird because I do find myself on a certain autopilot where I know that I'm going to go to a new place, I'm going to walk around, and we'll drink coffee, drink alcohol, and probably, smoke, and I haven't really, I don't know, I'd say even from the very get-go, I had this idea of what travel is, seeing things, seeing beautiful buildings, going to like different museums, and whatnot. Meeting people is a lot of fun too. And it's weird because there's such a flow of people you meet, people, they always, you're leaving, they're leaving. We're all sort of on different paths in life, And it can be hard, learning to sort of let everything go and just simply be. But I think it's like the most important lesson is that really cherish the moments that you have, either with yourself or with the people that you're around. It's such a crazy situation that you have. This moment right now. I think I've been feeling a lot of weird feelings lately. And just realizing that they're never really going to end until I die. Because I think, getting into like spiritual practices and whatnot, it's like you expect to reach this sort of enlightened state. Everything's just goes Zen or something. And there's definitely peaks and valleys. Because if I spend all day doing yoga, qigong, and doing breath work and meditating, just like on it, I'm like taking care of myself. There's like a certain level that you're like, all right, but then you sort of can take one moment and think, how do I make it better? How do I keep going? It's really weird because even when I was, taking ayahuasca or doing one thing or another, you're sort of expecting sort of like blissful revolution or something. Just learning to like let go and appreciate like things for what they are and what they are. No? It's weird because it's like there's never a peak, because you're always going to be wanting more. And I think that's the trick is just not wanting more. It's just being like, oh, everything right now is everything. If your body's aching, great. If you're hungry, great. It's really interesting. I had a 3-day fast a couple months ago, or maybe just a month ago. It was really interesting because I didn't even expect to be taking it. But then after like the first day, I was like, oh, I went a day without eating food. I wonder if I can keep going, And the second day rolled around, and I was like, all right. Third day, can't remember when. And honestly, I could have kept going. Because the first meal that I had, I wasn't even that hungry. And, you expect to be ravenous, but like honestly, the first day is like the hardest. The first day is the hardest. And just sort of after that, you don't really crave it. How weird. And it's the same in any sort of relationship. You have like this magical time, and then it's just like this biological honeymoon period that everyone talks about. And after that, sort of period for me where I start to think about other women. But then there's those other parts of you that don't want that. You know? I'm sort of fighting with myself sometimes. I got exhausted. It's really weird. Fighting with yourself. You know, as being single now, there's parts of me that want to keep being single, and there's parts of me that want to be in a relationship. And there's parts of me that want lots of relationships. I guess it's just about honoring all the different parts of me, because we keep thinking that we're just this one thing, but I think we're so much more. We're so much more like elusive than we kind of give ourselves credit for. You know? We're sort of putting ourselves in a box, and it's weird because, especially when I'm in a relationship, that's when I feel like I have this extreme loyalty to act and behave in a certain way. That's what I think is fascinating too, because I definitely realize that there's different programs that happen and exist. Like, for instance, there's like the part of you that flirts and is able to do all these things with this romantic partner. Where it's a lot of times I was like, I don't even know where it's coming from. It just feels like there's a part of you that's switched on. That is in this different behavioral pattern. You have more energy and just sort of everything's just different. It's really bizarre. Just like the programming can change. Just because I'm interacting with this other piece of the puzzle almost. But if we're all sort of part of the same universe or matrix or whatever, we're all the same person, and that's why they have this familiarity too. Huh? I don't know what it is, because all of life seems to be feelings, emotions, thoughts, and all these things, but we're at the same time none of those things. They seem to rule and govern us, and we sort of pay attention to them. Heading. But at the same time, they don't mean anything. And we have these intense cravings for ice cream and cigarettes and sex and biological tickings of clocks, moon cycles, and a lot of it seems like, we're not in charge of our own actions, which can seem controversial, because there's that subconscious, that's at play. A lot of times, especially when I'm creating some art or something, a lot of times, there's part of you that's noodling around, sort of getting frustrated and struggling or something, and it all sort of just comes together in 2 seconds. A lot of times, how did I do that? Who's me? Who's I? How did I do this? Who is I? And then you get into that sort of line of thinking of just the tool, just sort of, I was there when it happened. The universe sort of worked through me. You can have that kind of line of thinking. Or you can, you're training yourself and you have the tools and techniques, the skill, the practice over time. drew that picture of really good. But you get those happy accidents. You're sort of you're open to the accident. Are we open? Are we closed? And does it matter one way or another what happens? Because is everything pre-written? We experience everything in real time. It's, for all bouncy balls in this computer simulation, sort of colliding with each other, is it random? It's like physics, of course. Everything's got to be at play. At least when you think things and then you speak things, how are things where do they all meet? That's it. Really. There's things you look forward to in future happenings. Those things in the past that were nice experiences. And then there's everything you're just experiencing right now. And then there's this fun thing because you go oh, appreciate this moment right now. What moment? That moment back then. But this moment right now. Waste the night. It's like this, fly that you're trying to smack. It's unsmackable. A moment is like a fly that's unsmackable. Yeah. It's elusive. It's one of those paradoxes that you can't ever enjoy a moment. Just be a moment as soon as you enjoy it. Then you take yourself out of the moment to enjoy the moment. And then you're out of the flow. And what is the flow? Because you flowing? Or are you in the routine, the pattern, the pre-program? What's the difference? Why does it matter? What are you trying to achieve? What's achievement? So we all know it's pretty bullshit to live a life of make money, food, have family, die. What does that mean? We all know those things happen. It's like really, it's what is it? What is it? How is it? Why is it? Who is it? Me is it? You is it? It is it. It's like we're all it. But I hope this made no sense. This doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It make Alice.